we're going to talk about Pythagorean theorem today. Okay, now y'all may or may not remember it, but again, this is another one of those things. You do not have to memorize it. It is on your formula chart. Okay, we boxed it in for you. Remember, you got all this stuff on your formula chart, and a bunch of y'all never even look at it. Make sure you do. I mean, worst comes to worst, it might give you a hint on something to do. But on Pythagorean theorem, it's really going to help you out. So when we talked about Pythagorean theorem, one of the things that we talked about was we had this picture of this hippopotamus because the longest side is called the hypotenuse, okay, which kind of sounds like a hippopotamus. And the strategy that we used when we first did this was we took, every time we saw a right triangle, we drew an arrow pointing at the longest side, we highlighted it, and we labeled it C. Always. Okay, this is what we always did. Actually, I'm going to use I'm going to use my pink highlighter because yellow is not showing up so good here. Okay, so we could do the same thing for all of these little triangles, okay? This one, I draw an arrow, I label it C, and highlight it. Now, honestly, what I like to do is I like to highlight the missing side. Now, I always want to label C, and you can highlight if you want to, okay? But definitely make sure that the first thing you do when you see a right triangle is that you that you label C. C is the most important part of a right triangle, okay? Now, we put all of these words that tell you different, tell you what, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this the hard way? Why don't I just do this? We put all these words down here that tell you about what they mean. The one you really need to know is this one, okay? What you really need to know is the ones that tell you which side is C, okay? Because C is the one that you have to be able to identify. So if you see a ramp, a slide, a ladder, slope, if they say opposite the right angle, if they say across the corner, okay? Diagonal. Diagonal is the word you're going to see most often. Diagonal, in like 4 of the questions that we've seen on previous STAAR tests, they've talked about a diagonal, okay? So diagonal, these are words that mean C. So we need to know what they are, okay? Now I'm going to show you this strategy. So there's 2 kinds of questions that you might be asked, okay? So the first kind of question you might be asked is about the Pythagorean relationship. So specifically, do you know how the Pythagorean theorem works, okay? The second kind of question you might be asked is, what's the missing side, okay? So we're going to start with the Pythagorean relationship. All right, and I'm gonna do a bunch of these problems with you, and then you should still have time to practice in class, okay? So, actually, let's start with this one down here. So the Pythagorean relationship starts with understanding the Pythagorean theorem, okay? And the Pythagorean theorem says that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, that's the Pythagorean theorem. So it says if I have 3 sides in a right triangle, 3 sides in a triangle, if I square the 2 short ones and add them together, it should be the same as if I square the long one. All right? So, here's the strategy we're going to use for this. It's actually pretty easy, okay? We're literally going to square the 2 sides and add them together. So, what you're going to do is you're going to say, okay, so for this one I'm going to circle the long one because we always identify the longest side. Okay? And for each of these, I'm going to plug them into the Pythagorean theorem. So 6 squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. I'm literally going to put that in my calculator. Okay, but I'm not going to do the equal sign. Okay. So I'm going to do, clear. So 6 squared plus 8 squared. Now, actually, you can do this in y equals. So if we go to y equals and enter 6 squared, nope, that's not it. 6 squared plus 8 squared in y1. And then in y2, I put 10 squared. And then I look at the graph. What do you notice? Everything's the same. So this is a right triangle because a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay? What's going to be different this time? What am I going to put in y1? 12 squared plus 35 squared. And then down here I'm going to put 37 squared. And then I'm going to look at are they all the same? Beautiful. This one's a right triangle too. Okay? For this next one, I'm going to put 4 squared plus 6 squared in y1. And then in y2, I'm going to put 10 squared. Are these all the same? This one's not a right triangle. Okay? Let's try the last one. 10 squared plus 24 squared equals 26 squared. Okay, and then I look at the thing, and these are all the same. So what's the answer? C, because it's the different one. Okay? So what they're asking you to tell them is that you understand that the square of the two sides adds up to the square of the longest side. Okay? So, how can that help me in a question like this one? Do I know how long the sides are for this one? No, but I know if I add up these two squares, it should equal that square. So n plus L should equal K. Now, if those were side lengths, I wouldn't be able to say that. But because they're squares, square n, square L should equal square K. Which one of those says square n and square L equals square K? Well, this one says greater and that one says less, so I know that's not it. This one says n and k is equal, and I know that's not right. I want n and L. Is this coming back to you guys at all? Hopefully. I mean, y'all did really well at it when we did it. I want you guys to try this one here, 35. Okay? It says an artist joined 3 square regions at their vertices to create the figure shown in the diagram. The artist will use small congruent square tiles to cover each region without any gaps or overlaps. Based on the information, which statement is true? And you should be able to use that first question we did as a model for how to do this one. And I know you can't see D, but spoiler, D is not the answer. So don't worry about it. And if you're stuck, I'll give you a hint. When you're ready, check and see if I did it right, because you know I messed stuff up. What do we think? Does this seem easy? They've asked one question like this a year. You'll see one again this year. Okay? So that's the first kind of question they might ask you. They might ask you about the Pythagorean relationship, meaning, do you know that a squared plus b squared equals c squared? The second thing they might ask you is, okay, a side's missing. Find it. Okay? Anytime they give me one of these problems and there's not a picture, I draw a picture. Okay, I'm going to draw a picture of that one. Okay, so let's look at this first one. It says the width of a rectangle is 4 feet and the diagonal length of the rectangle is 13 feet. Look, they said rectangle, so I'm drawing a rectangle. And they said something about a diagonal, okay? So they said it's 4 feet wide, and it says the diagonal length. Remember, diagonal goes from corner to corner. And that's 13. And they want to know what this side is. Okay? How do I know that this is a right angle here? Do you guys remember? This is like old school stuff. Like 6th grade. Okay, well, the reason I know is because every rectangle has 4 right angles in it. Okay, so anytime they give me a rectangle and with a diagonal, it's a Pythagorean theorem question because every rectangle has right angles. So, if I draw an angle pointing at the rectangle, I'm pointing at the long side, okay, I know that the longest side is 13, right? C is the longest side. If the longest side is 13, can I have an answer that's longer than 13? No. So are there any answers that are longer than 13? Then we cross those off. We can't have an answer longer than the longest side. Now, here's the other thing I know. It doesn't say a plus b equals c. It says a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So if I add these two together, it's wrong. If I subtract these two, it's also wrong. So 13 minus 4 is what? Cross it off. It's wrong. 13 plus 4 is 17. And we already crossed that. There's only one answer left. Did I even have to bust out the Pythagorean theorem? No, I just had to draw a picture. Okay? I want you guys to try this question down here. Number 5. Same thinking. You're going to find C. You're going to decide which one it has to be. What does it have to be longer than? You're going to see if you can eliminate any answers. Okay, y'all keep working. I'm going to start writing down my work, and we'll see if... Just eliminating, I got rid of 2 answers. Were y'all able to get rid of 2 answers? Okay. So I know that it can't be 2.6 because that's what I get when I add these two together. And it can't be 1.4 because it has to be the longest side, which means it can't be shorter than 1.7. So I've got 2 answers, but still that means that's 2 answers I have to check. Okay. So I'm going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Well, I'm looking for c squared. So I'm going to start with 1.7 squared plus 0.9 squared. And I'm literally just, again, going to put this in the calculator. 1.7 squared plus 0.9 squared. And then I'm going to put x squared. Remember, we always use x, not c. Okay? So this part goes in y1. And this part goes in y2. Because it's an equation, I can stick it in the calculator. And now I'm going to look at the table. Okay, so I'm looking for 1.9. I want to see if 1.9 is right. Who remembers how to jump around in the table? What's going on? Who knows how to jump around the table? How do I jump? Second window. Okay, so I'm going to put in 1.9. And I'm going to see what I get. Now, if I look, I got 3.7 and 3.61. Now, remember, they rounded this answer. So when I do this method, they have to be close. So I got to pick the 2 that are closest together. Okay. Let's look at 2.3. Let's jump to 2.3. For 2.3, I get 3.7 and 5.29. Which one's closer? B or D? B. So B is my answer. Okay? What do you guys think? Does this seem hard? Okay. Seems doable. Let's try this one here. 8.5. Let's try this question here. Well, hold on. Let me see if there's another good one over here. Let's try this one right here. Some more with examples, with pictures. Okay? Y'all try 33. I'm going to pause it and let y'all try it. Okay. This is what I got. So first of all, I labeled it. I know 39 is the longest side. So it has to be shorter than 39. I also know that 39 minus 12 is 27, 39 plus 12 is 51. So I'm going to eliminate those two answers. Okay? And then 40.8 is not shorter than 39. The only answer that can be my answer is A. What do we think about that? Do you guys think you can do that? Now, what if you have a problem like this one? This one's a bubble grid. And as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the questions. So you're going to have, it is very likely you're going to have a bubble grid question on Pythagorean theorem. Okay? So how are we going to solve this? Let me check something about these. 6, 12. Oh, yeah. Most of these appear to be whole number answers, too. Like, I'm looking at the answers. 8, 15, 17. Okay, so most of these are going to be whole number answers, or something that's easy. It's not going to be something crazy where you have to round. Okay? So let's look at this one. Okay? A set designer for a play painted... You know what? Who cares? They gave me a picture. Okay, they gave me a picture, all right? Okay, I know that's my longest side. Okay, now, the only thing is if I look at this picture, you see, how are they trying to trick me? I got to add 2, because I got to account for that. So whatever answer I get, I got to add 2 to it. Okay? So I'm going to do a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, I don't know a, because a squared is always going to, if we're missing one of the legs, we're always going to make it a. I know b is 5, so 5 squared, and c is 13, 13 squared. That's squared. So in my calculator goes x squared plus 5 squared I don't know why I did that. That's just the long way. Equals 13 squared. And then I'm going to set my window back to 0. So obviously I'm looking for 169 if you look. So my y squared is 169. So I'm just going to keep scrolling. There it is, 12. A equals 12. So that means this part is 12. What am I going to bubble, though? 14, because I got to add that too. Okay? All right. So I want you guys to practice. Oh, actually, I want to do one more problem with you. I want to do this one. Okay? The reason I want to do this one is because this is one that you might see a question on, and then there's a couple of questions like this. So what they want you to be able to do is tell them how long this line is. Now, whenever they ask you for this is a Pythagorean theorem question. So what they're asking you to do is, they're saying, make me a triangle, and then tell me how long the other side is, okay? So I'm looking for this. Do I know how long these two sides are? Could I count them? 1, 2, 3. Right? And this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So literally when they give it to me on a grid like this, I just count them. Okay? So for this one, okay, what am I going to do? What do I know? What is it? Does it have to be longer than 5 or shorter than 5? Longer, right? 5's not longer than 5. 4's not longer than 5. 3.9's not longer than 5. A is the answer. Like, okay? Huh? Is 5 longer than 5? No, 5 is equal to 5. Is 5 longer than 5? Yeah. Is $5 more than $5? No, it's $5. Yeah, but that's not what they asked me. Okay? I want you guys to try this one. This one is trickier. So this is the last one we're going to do. This one's a little trickier because this time you have to plot the points. Okay? So I have -4, -6, and that's point J. And then I have 4, 4, which is K. Okay? So they want me to tell them how far apart these 2 points are. And remember, anytime they ask me to do that, this is a Pythagorean theorem question. Okay? So I'm going to make myself a right triangle and use it to figure out how far apart these are. Okay? And again, I'm going to use all the same old tricks I've been using. Okay? And then I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I lost it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay? So what does it have to be longer than? 10, because I'm looking for the longest side. So I can get rid of G and J because they're not longer than 10. Then remember, I'm also going to add the 2 sides, and I'm going to subtract the 2 sides. And if it's either one of those, I cross them off. And there it is. Okay? These are easy. You guys got this. Okay? Don't stress out about these. You're going to see 3 to 4 questions like this on STAAR, which means that should be 3 to 4 questions to get, because, I mean, almost all of these, weren't we able to do that elimination trick with almost all of them? And then even the one bubble grid they gave us wasn't even hard. It was just stick it in the calculator and then look for the row where they're equal. Okay?